Hello, hello, hello to all my lovers, winners, and dreamers. Welcome to KiKi with GiGi, a show where we dive deep into the chronically unexplored aspects of human consciousness. I'm your host, Gigi La Tormenta. Last time we talked a little bit about the shadow and how it manifests in our behaviors, decision making processes, and relationships. Today we will be talking about its polar opposite, the persona. Now, the persona is what we know as the mask, the social mask. It's formed under the same conditions and under the same influences as the shadow. The only difference here is while the shadow is made up of the parts of ourselves that we repress or deny, the persona is the complete opposite. It's the parts of us that we consciously project outwards. And the reason for its formation is the same as the shadows: social survival. As social creatures, we're made to be in groups, and our psyche has evolved to reflect this. As a result, we have this dichotomy of the shadow and the persona or the mask. Whatever qualities there is in one surely has the opposite qualities in the other. Now, does this mean that an overly nice person is actually like a mean ass bitch? No, but it does mean that she has a mean side, and more than likely she's repressing it. Or probably she has a lot of anger too. Mm-hmm. Got them anger issues that she hides with a smile. I know a girl like that. And I've been seeing her tap more into her rage lately and more be less people pleaser and start tapping into her shadow side a little bit to get more of a healthy balance. And it's working for her. I'm telling you, she's a baddie now. So, me personally, I went from mean bitch to nice girl. It's like, I went from being like really cold and hard and just like, I don't care, to being like, no, I actually really do care. I think a really good example of how the persona forms or has its development influenced by its social surroundings was given to Duncan Trussell by his psychologist mother on one of his podcast episodes, which actually has been animated and is now the show Midnight Gospel. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. It's good. It's really good. But basically, the example she gave is that say you're an only child until you aren't anymore. And now it's almost like your needs have become second place to the newborn, which has an effect of its own. Of course, that's a whole nother influence. But now, instead of being the only child, mommy's baby, now they're mommy's big boy or big girl. And now, anytime they help out with the baby or express other responsible traits, those are the traits that are now getting affirmed. And so, these conditions can very easily create someone who becomes overly responsible or compulsively responsible. And this can also transfer into their relationships later on. They could show love through acts of service or taking on other people's burden or fixing them. Ciao. And so basically, just like the shadow, there are aspects of the persona that are both beneficial and harmful. And it's up to each one of us to identify those and sort out what serves us from what no longer serves us. Because that's the thing, these things develop because they served our survival at one point. For some reason, there's a Caroline Polachek lyric that I'm like channeling right now. And I think basically it goes along the lines of like, burying the good girl I know I'm not. You know what I mean? And this brings us to the revelation that the persona is not fixed. You are not your mask. The mask can change, it can shift. Its very nature is mutable. A really good example of this is the social chameleon. I feel like everyone has that one friend who can just fit into all kinds of different social settings and just totally fit in. Like, they're a master at shifting the configuration of their persona to fit the needs of each situation individually. And that honestly is a skill. It truly is. For some people, it's just a natural part of being a social butterfly. For others, it's a manipulative tactic. So watch out. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about these different aspects of the psyche, right? And the persona is the one that is basically in the driver's seat, or so it thinks. So what happens when one or more of these aspects are in direct conflict with the persona? The short answer is psychological tension, and in simpler terms, weird vibes. So if you experience this does not mean you're a bad person or anything. Good and bad is purely subjective. What it does mean is that you have some work to do. You probably need to go to therapy. And I don't even mean that in a rude way. I'm just saying that therapists are trained to help like sort out what's what, and more importantly, how to get these different aspects to work with each other rather than against each other. Can you do this at home? Definitely. That's what shadow work is for, right? And journaling and reflection and introspection. But truly, a therapist helps a lot. It helps a lot. Well, friends, I think that's all I have to say on this topic for today. I'm much more interested in the shadow and like the dark side. But I hope this brought you clarity and made you just a little more aware of the fact that there are many aspects to you. You're like a diamond, baby. There's so many facets. And you cannot judge the entire diamond for if one of the facets has a scratch on it. That's delusional. It's still a diamond. And scratches can be polished. Okay? As always, thank you so much for listening, and tune in next week where we will dive even deeper. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please do not hesitate to message me on Instagram. That's where I live the most online. Yeah. But my username is GiGi La Tormenta. So as always, thank you so much for listening, and until we meet again, take care of yourself and do the work, because it's worth it, but also you're worth it. Yeah. Ciao. Mwah.